For the most part, Ted Kaczynski was correct. Of course, I don't think that he predicted, something scandalously new. I don't think that he was a messiah. I don't think that he had visions of the future. Of course, he is not the first one to claim all of the things that he has claimed. There have been people before him which have, suggested that perhaps the technological future will not be as wonderful as we assume. Of course, they were smart. I mean, one person that comes to mind is Aldous Huxley, but, there have been a lot of people, and not just in the, sci-fi realm, whatever. The problem with Ted Kaczynski is that, of course, he was incredibly smart. He was incredibly gifted. And my opinion is that how could somebody that was so intelligent, God-level IQ, just ruin his entire life, his entire career with, basically he made bombs and bombed a couple of bureaucrats and basically just did a whole lot of nothing. Of course, I'm not trying to diminish the value of, the casualties. I think those people, the victims, died for nothing. Ted Kaczynski should have been smarter. I guess he had a lot of frustration and rage in his system. It seems sensible enough. The fact that he had this outburst to do what he did, it's just unfortunate because from what I gather, this guy could have lived his best life, could have had it good, could have been just amazing. He could have done exactly what he wanted if he was patient, if he compromised a little bit. But of course, from what I can tell, he was incredibly, I don't know if the word is autistic or, something on the spectrum was going on here. He was antisocial to the max, had problems with social cues, did not vibe well with other people, period. Which is fine. He just quit everything and went into a cabin, and then he went to work with his explosives for some reason. Whereas if he just remained a bit longer, maybe he could have changed something for the better. People did not need to die. He did not need to resort to this, I think, silly plan. It was a goofy plan. Anyone with half a brain cell can agree with me, I hope, that his plan in general was just goofy AF. Didn't have any long-lasting implications. The results were piss poor. The consequences were just lame. A couple of people died. Whatever for. It was, he involved his energy in activities that were worthless, in my humble opinion. He should have stuck to his guns. He should have just lived his life. But this is very important. He just hated society, technology, the industrial society, whatever. And so he withdrew to the forest, right? He had a cabin in the forest, and this was supposed to be his paradise, right? He should have been tranquil. He should have been at peace. And when he got there, he just couldn't. He had no rest. He had his demons, and then he just had to commence and embark on this crusade against a machine, a Goliath, a Hydra that, of course, could not be beaten. He thought his main reasoning was that if he tackled society with aggression, violence, and made a big boom, let's say, he thought that attention would gravitate toward his manifesto, and he thought that a lot of people would read this and understand this, and they would go, well, I didn't think about it this way. You know, this guy has a lot of good ideas. His assumption was that the population in general, the majority of people, would read this manifesto in the newspapers, and he thought that a lot of people, the drones, the normies, the NPCs, he thought that these dunderheads would just have a eureka moment, the light bulb would pop up, and they thought, oh my god, we gotta change something, folks. Of course, nothing of the sort happened. Therefore, everything that he did with his Unabomber persona was a complete and total waste of time, energy, intellect, whatever else you want to introduce here. He just wasted his time on nothing. Okay? On nothing. He was in the forest. He should have enjoyed his life in the forest. And from what I understand, even when he was in the forest, he still had interactions, unfortunate interactions with people and technology. He should have went to some desert. I don't know. He should have gone farther into the wilderness. But, you know, it is what it is. It is unfortunate. Somebody that was so gifted, so smart, so just intelligent on a level that we can't even comprehend. He was just having fun, you know. He was just having fun with sophisticated math that just baffled most mathematicians. He was just playing with all of these equations. He was just on a level that, like, you just read the title of the kind of math that he was playing with, and you're just like, hey, yo, right? So he was God level IQ, and yet, apparently, he was not smart enough to figure out that no matter what you do in society, nobody cares, everybody's indifferent, everybody is numb, apathetic, and nothing will ever change. And he was not smart enough to figure out that the best course of action for him was to just go deep in the mountains, deep into the forest, somewhere in the I don't know, in the rainforest, somewhere. He couldn't figure it out. He just had to go somewhere extremely remote, extremely isolated, and just lived his best life. He couldn't do this for some reason. Of course, all of the arguments against technology and industry and society in general and modern civilization, of course, he is absolutely on the money. He is almost 100% correct in saying that, you know, technology, it's just not good. In the long run, modernity is just, it unfortunately enslaves most people. Technology, society, civilization, they shackle people, they limit people, they strip people of their rights, of their autonomy, of their freedom, etc., etc. You know the spiel, right? This is absolutely correct. And of course, nothing will ever change. Of course, because people are just too lazy. Because if you want real change, you have to sacrifice all of your comforts. This is how you regain your freedom. Therefore, technology has to be thrown away. And of course, people will never ever do this because it's just too comfortable and it's just too convenient. And it blows my mind that Ted Kaczynski couldn't figure this out, that no matter what he did, even if he created a hydrogen bomb, it still would not matter and nothing would change in the slightest, because this is what people are. Creatures of comfort, right? And I don't know why he had this almost naive idea that bringing awareness about this fact that technology in the long run is bad, I don't know why he had this presumption that people would, renounce technology. It will never ever happen. Okay, and I will say this. Okay, I will say this. A lot of the points that he makes are absolutely valid, but of course, just with everything else, the technology is just a tool. It is neutral. The internet, arguably, is extremely harmful to people because it makes people dumb. But it is a neutral tool. And you can say this about anything, about guns, about whatever. They are just tools, neutral. It is how people use them, how people apply them, which matters and which determines if said tool is either negative or positive or still neutral. The thing in of itself is not harmful or detrimental. It all hinges upon the user, the individual user. Okay? Technology in of itself is not a bad thing. It's how people use technology that determines the outcome, the result, the consequences, etc. Of course, when you have a society in which the most superior technology is hoarded by elites, of course, then you have a problem. All of the, military powers and all of the weaponry, etc., the technology, if it is hoarded by a small elite, then you have a serious problem on your hands. Of course, he was absolutely right. If this happens, pretty much people are cooked. The population is cooked because they are powerless. Doesn't matter how many guns you have, because the elites have the true technology that can, wipe everything off the map. And of course, there is this little caveat, if you would. And of course, now we are in the realm of tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. But this has to be said, okay, because if you do any research on Ted Kaczynski, you will stumble upon the little tidbit that when he was young and in college, something happened. And what happened was that apparently in college, the CIA covertly, under the guise of some sort of silly experiment, experimented on Ted Kaczynski with LSD and God knows what else, and basically fried his brains. Despite the fact that his brains were already extremely sensitive, being on the spectrum and what have you. So the CIA or some sort of secret organization, whatever, they messed with his brain with drugs and God knows what other type of testing and conditioning and programming, and our boy snapped. And we don't really know what exactly happened. Okay, and this is why I say that we are in the realm of tinfoil hat conspiracy theories, because when you really study this sort of phenomenon, you can discover that a lot of these so-called lone gunmen and these maniacs and these freaks that have these violent outbursts and they just, do all of these terrible violent things and they become newsworthy. You know what I'm talking about. All of these so-called bang bang events. If you do some research, you can find that a lot of these people, these so-called maniacs, they were messed with, they were experimented on, they were tested, drugs, brainwashing, mind control, and it seems that this is the case when it comes to Ted Kaczynski. Although the news and the propaganda still want to make it out like he was just this wackaloon, and this manifesto, they want to say that these are just ravings of a madman that is anti-technology in general. Actually, when you read this, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. The only The only mistake that he made was that he assumed that by committing violent acts, he thought that people would not only focus their attention on this, but he thought that people would comprehend, and he thought that people would be enlightened and just become dynamic and just change for the better and slowly distance themselves from technology. And I think this is an extremely naive assumption on Ted Kaczynski's part. This shows that he was extremely naive. He didn't really understand people's mentality. It is obvious he was on the spectrum. He didn't get people and how people operate. He thought that this would stir up something. It didn't. It didn't. There was absolutely no change. Actually, it has gotten much, much worse since his time. Okay, but what I want to say is, let's get back on topic. It seems to me, okay, this is just my opinion, okay? This is just for the sake of entertainment. This is just for the sake of educational purposes. You know, AI overlords, please don't shadow ban me. But it seems to me that our boy, maybe was a unwilling, unfortunate Manchurian candidate. Okay, this might be the case because he was played with. His brain was meddled with. Okay, he became a plaything for certain institutions and organizations which obviously are evil. They just overdosed him with drugs. They probably brainwashed him, mind controlled him on some MK Ultra, if you know anything about that. And his psyche was probably fragmented and fractured. Who knows what happened? But of course, the mainstream narrative is that he was just a lunatic. Of course he was. Of course he was. And yet, when you read this, you can clearly tell that no, he wasn't a raving lunatic. He actually made simple sense. Okay, so who knows what the truth is? But of course, from what I remember, he died like maybe 2 years ago. And this is something that I considered, is that did Ted Kaczynski have any sort of outlet to the world? Did he have, I don't know, internet access? Did he have a television? Because obviously, technology has gone berserk nowadays, and it's basically a circus now. But I think he refused to engage in society in general, and probably just was completely isolated from the world. This seems to be the case, because otherwise I think he would have gone crazy in prison, because today it's just on another level. I mean, did he know about memes? And did he know about streaming video games? Did he know about influencers? Did he know about clout chasers? Did he know about the fact that hoes can make a lot of money on OnlyFans? Did he know anything about this? Did he know that video games have become the singular cultural reference and persuasion nowadays? Did he know any of this? Because I think that if he knew some of this stuff, I think he would have lost his marbles. Did he know that people only watch anime nowadays? Did he know that people goon continuously on the hub? Did he know anything about this? Because I think, given his personality and character, if he knew what was going on nowadays, I think he would have gone senile. Did he know about the fact that such a thing as iPad babies exist? Did he know that everybody is taking selfies and sending feet pics and dick pics? Did he know about any of this? Did he know about looks maxing? Huh? Did he know about mewing? Etc., etc. I would really like to know this information. Was he aware of what has befallen society nowadays with technology and the internet and etc., etc.? Because it's just, yeah, he was right. Of course, he was absolutely right. We are on a path that is irreversible. Technology, obviously, has enslaved people completely. People are addicted to technology. They wake up staring at a screen. They go to sleep staring at a screen. They have their phones as another appendage. They can't think for themselves at all. They cannot do anything. They have to ask ChatGPT. They have to watch a tutorial video as to how to tie their shoelaces. It is unfortunate. Did Ted Kaczynski know about Reddit and Discord? Did he know about Twitch? Did he know about the AI takeover? Did he know that people just cannot do anything without ChatGPT? Did he know that everybody has a Siri on their phone or an Alexa in their home, and they have to ask these AIs how to fart properly, because people don't know how to fart properly nowadays because they're so brainless. Of course, he knew, he had intuition, he had insight, and he suspected, just like people before him had suspected, that, given the fact that the human condition and human nature is the way that it is, the only outcome is obvious, which is that no matter what, people will manage every time to just ruin everything, not only for themselves but for everybody else. No matter what is invented, no matter what sort of progress or advancement happens, people will find a way to just exploit it in a way that it will just ruin everything for everybody. This is not the first time. It has happened throughout history. Technology is used by people to just, to get dumber. People get dumber as technology advances. Pretty soon, everything will be done by machines. It's already in the middle of it. Thinking is at an all-time low. A lot of things are automated. Did Ted Kaczynski know about VR? That's crazy. He didn't know about VR. It is unfortunate that such a genius, with all the prospects, all the opportunities, just was trapped and stuck in a vicious circle of just paranoia and vitriol, and he just couldn't just leave somewhere and just mind his own business. It is unfortunate. He thought that he would bring awareness to the general public, and he thought that the general public would wake the fuck up. Actually, it has gotten worse, because now people are absolutely 100% fully asleep. Fully asleep. People are asleep. They are sleepwalkers. They are on autopilot, with exceptions, of course, but it is set in stone. And I would say this yet again. It is not necessarily the fault of technology in of itself. It is because of people and how people employ said technology. And that's pretty much it. But I'm going to end it with this. This edition of the Unabomber Manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future, this edition has a lot of typos. I don't know what's going on. This this edition pretty much has a typo almost on every page. It is unacceptable. Okay? Ted Kaczynski was perceptive, and he had perspective. He had insight. He figured out a lot of things. He was five steps ahead of a lot of people. A lot of the things that he said were just accurate. They were valid. About leftists and their philosophy, and the fact that the elites control everything and everybody is a slave and nobody has any liberties anymore, and people become zombies and robots and automatons because they just chase these thrills to satisfy their primitive urges. He was, of course, insightful. He knew a lot of stuff about all of this, about behavior, about the psyche of humans and how they operate and think. And yet, with all of that big brain power, with all of that intuition, with that plethora of problem-solving capacity, with all of that, gifted beyond belief, he just couldn't reach the solution that the best thing that you can do in life is to leave everything behind and disassociate. Resign yourself, withdraw, go somewhere isolated, become a recluse, become a hermit. This was the only path that he should have taken. And it boggles the mind that somebody so smart just could not accept this. I don't know. I guess it is a bit demoralizing to understand that no matter what, society will never change for the better. And people will never make the right choices and decisions. He could not accept this for some reason. I guess he was pragmatic in a way. Maybe he was an optimist. Maybe he cared about people and the fate of society and humanity. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure. But maybe he cared. Maybe he was an empath when it comes to the general fate and destiny of people. I don't know. Maybe he cared about humanity. Who knows? But anybody with any real experience, with who engages in honesty and sincerity, somebody who accepts the truth of everything, of the world, of life, of people, and how everything works, the system, anybody who is level-headed, anybody who is balanced, understands completely that society is cooked and has always been cooked and will forever be cooked. There is no hope, and I'm not trying to be a doomer or a naysayer or a cynic or pessimist, but this is facts here. We're being serious here. This is what it means to be an adult, mature, and we are not engaging in silly nonsense and gibberish. Okay, this is what it means to be mature, to accept the undeniable fact that things cannot change because people are unwilling to sacrifice what is comfortable and convenient. Okay, and it's admirable that he tried to to attract people, to warn people. But he went about it the wrong way through violence and aggression and hurting people, which was silly. He should have just minded his own business, because anybody with half a brain understands that nothing here will ever change for the better, and society is doomed. Okay, society is doomed, cursed to just repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Society crumbles, it starts again. Technology just is lost, and then people have to go through the painstaking cycle of just, evolving yet again. And this is what happens. Civilizations and empires rise, and then they fall because of corruption and what have you. He should have known this. Somebody this smart should have known this. But unfortunately, I guess he was born with all sorts of issues, with all sorts of, emotional problems, chromosomes, chemical imbalances in the brain, who knows? And because of all this, because of his, social ineptitudes, whatever, because of this, maybe that is why he could not reach the same conclusions that I have arrived at. That all of this here, it's not worth your time. The fact that he actually tried to warn people and just bring awareness it's admirable, it's respectable, it's even honorable. He went about it the wrong way, but he should have known that nothing here is worth struggling so hard, because people are not worth your time, your energy, He should have known this. It is futile. He should have known this. A lot of the arguments that he makes against society, against technology, etc., they are absolutely valid. And yet, he just could not step away. He just could not escape, because at the end of the day, it's all about the mind. It is all about the mind. And I suppose he had, mental burdens and mental attachments, maybe even emotional attachments that he could not sever. He could not break from his ideas. He could not accept or imagine or conceive the fact that most people simply do not give a flying fuck about the future or the destiny of humanity. And most people don't care that they're basically a part of the problem. Most people don't care. They're indifferent. They just want to have a good time. This is so simple, so basic that even a child should know this, but that's about it. Ted Kaczynski is an example as to how one should not be, because with all of his smarts, with all of his abilities, with his incredible IQ, he still could not discern a simple solution to a simple problem. He overcomplicated everything. He just went overboard. He just immersed himself even more into this problem, instead of just picking the simplest solution that probably stared him in the face. He just couldn't see it, which was that he should have just left. He should have just abandoned everything and minded his own business in his little cabin in the woods. And I think maybe if he spent a little more time just enjoying nature and reading his books and just, fishing and listening to the birds chirping, maybe he would have recovered. Maybe he would have healed. Maybe he would have become more balanced in every aspect. Who knows? But maybe he was a Manchurian candidate. Maybe he was a puppet of the MK Ultra mind control program. We will never know, of course, but that's about it. If you enjoy this content, if you want to support your boy, I got a few books on Amazon. The link will be down below. If the link does not work, you can search my name, Griffith Samsara. Thanks for watching. See ya.